know we had a lot to prepare for getting into this game against a good Arizona team. So love the focus where the guys are at. And some game captains, Nick Allegretti will be one, Quinn Martin, and Jeremy McNichols. So those will be the captains for this week's game, and we're really pumped to get rolling. So all that said, glad to get it rolling with you guys.
So for just quick, some injury updates besides Cleveland and Austin, everybody else good to go?
Jamison Crowder will be one that won't make it in for this week, so it was close, and so no go.
Emmanuel and St. Juice are good?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. With Jeremy, when you go back and watch that block, what do you see? Like, that was, I know he's like, you're doing your job. That was pretty impressive.
There's a lot of things that come to mind with him. One's humility, the other one's trust. And he's somebody that when called upon, like, man, does he deliver? And so, like, for that instance and that protection, man, I'm going to make sure, I think the horns want you guys to really go. But there's a lot of trust with him. And so that's why whatever role he's asked on, he usually delivers because of that mindset, whether it's dirty work, like going to pick up a blitz or covering kicks, and, all that goes into it. So that's what I thought was fitting for him to be a captain this game.
And then defending Kyler, and I know you guys facing mobile quarterbacks becoming commonplace. You guys faced one in Baker earlier this year, and I know they're different.
Yes.
But you still want to try and contain them and get to them. So what are there lessons that could be taken from that game to help in terms of even the rush lanes?
I think maybe that part, John, in the rush lanes. But Tyler has a whole another set of speed and escapability outside the pocket that it's pretty rare. And so it'll take really disciplined four-man rush. He picks and chooses, like any good player, when to go, when to remain a passer. But it's for sure the whole defense being a part of it.
With no Austin, no Jamison, will you be relying solely on Olamide for the returns, or will that play into whomever you call up?
Yeah, not necessarily on the call-up side, Nikki, but Olamide will be one. Luke's been getting back there one. On the kick return side, we've certainly worked J-Mac. Noah's done that. So it's in that way, we're not going to replace Austin, and how do you get, different spots in different places. However, when we do have a big, deep crew, we work a lot of guys. When these situations come up, you need to be ready for it. And so through practices and preseason games, gaining that experience is really important.
And not to look too far ahead, but next week is the first week where you could bring back Marcus Mariota and Jordan McGee to practice or open their practice window. Is that something you're expecting to do?
Every space to get there. And so we'll have a good update for that as we head into next week.
You mentioned the other day not wanting the team to ride the roller coaster. Is there anything you did or said this week to prevent that?
Well, that's good. I think, honestly, being here helps that in a way. And the reason I say that, Sam, is, we kind of just stayed in this pocket together. We had a win. We enjoyed it. Got here super late. The guys head off Tuesday, and then we kind of got right back into what was at hand. And so being here alone has helped. Obviously, I addressed it to say, the same way we approach, the game, what do we want to do to get better? What are going to be the keys to this game? So it helped, I guess, just to get a quick turnaround, to get your mind on the next opponent. And being here alone was nice to be just in this pocket, everybody together doing our stuff.
And when you're taking the temperature of your team, whether
it's hot.
whether it's here or, in your past stops, like, what do you look for to tell you, like, hey, the team is locked in, or, hey, I need to say this? Like, how do you kind of figure out what to say?
Yeah, I think you're probably saying, like, what's the pulse of the team and where we're at. And it helps. We've got excellent leaders here. They help me look around the corners. And if somebody's not meeting a standard that we set, then, like, we address it right away. And to say, hey, that's not the standard, that's not good enough. So lots of eyes and ears to watch. Practice habits, those are the things I look for, all the time, to say, is somebody pressing, if they're not performing like they want or doesn't have the right focus. And usually, if you have enough eyes and you're looking, then you'll see it.
Hey, Coach, I know that ultimately you always want to win a football game, but in the event that you don't win, do you still say in week 4, if I see these 3 things, that was still a really good game for this team?
Well, I think number one, you're going to hear me say it a lot, it's the turnover margin. And we're really committed to taking care of the ball, to making sure we get our shots to go knock it out. So that part, you'll always see me, up on the top of the pile forever. The explosive play margins, can we find some ways to get some explosive runs, passes, offensively, defensively, the same thing. Can we limit the big plays? So the drives, they've got to go for the long ones. They've got to get into that space. And after that, then I have some other ones where we are on the penalty side and starting field position. So those are the markers that I'm generally looking for to see how we're performing. It's, to me, always some things that don't show up on the stat sheet. That's our speed, the energy, the toughness, the physicality that we're playing with. That has to show up every time we go, whether we're in Arizona or playing back home or nights on Monday nights and Thursday nights and whenever it is. That physicality and speed has always got to be front and center for us.
And what are you looking to see from the defensive line this week? The defensive line?
Sure. Number one, I think obviously we all have a lot of respect for James Conner, and he's a factor, and they've got a good run game and the play passes that go off it. So, being stout and being physical up front, that's going to be a real key. And then finding ways to, on third down, to make our presence felt, to when we can get, the individual rushes to go. Playing a mobile quarterback like Kyler presents its own challenges. So having the discipline to do that from them will be front and center for us.
These guys, these athletes, they're all very confident young men, and they all, they especially when they come into the league, they have a lot of faith nothing's going to end, their career's going to go on forever, that type of stuff to some degree. But when you get around guys like Austin and Ertz, they're here in part because they've had some injuries. What's it like when you see some of these guys recognize some sort of football mortality to a degree, where they start to break down a little bit, and you have to, keep their confidence up, where they can see maybe, hey, it's kind of going south for them?
Like when an injury derails
like
somebody?
When an injury first makes them go, oh, crap, this is...
Yeah, I think the first thing you want to do is check on the man before the ball player and know that, the type of injury, where they're at, how long that process will normally take. The longer you've been in the league, the more you have recognition for that. When the guys are on the way back after an injury, a lot of times what you'll recognize is the gratitude to be back in the arena. And sometimes that alone, of being back in the fight, back in the arena, can feel that belonging and the hope again when you're knocked out for a while, because that's some of the things that you miss. And so having the joy to be back in the fight and be in the arena, be in the locker room, those are small things that you need. And so for guys that have been knocked out for a significant time, when you do work hard to get back into that spot, usually there's a lot of gratitude for it.
I know, like, cut down day is obviously one of the tougher days for a coach, but when it's sort of the guy who's getting a little bit older and you're, hey, man, may have to bench you, or hey, this may be it. How tough is that conversation? Is that a different one than the guys who are just trying to get in the league?
No, I would say, like, at all things, and like, we're all on the performance side of things. So if something I would see that I liked or didn't see, I would bring up to a player. That's what I've done in the past when that has happened. So you'd never want a player to feel surprised about something that would take place. That meant you probably weren't communicating, to a level that you would want to be. What a downer you right there. All right, I'm trying to get fired up over here.
I know during preseason when Jaden connected with Yami for that touchdown settling, and then again this past game when he connected with Terry, both receivers mentioned sort of the confidence that can be built up. Have you seen that sort of have an effect throughout this time, sort of that confidence building what Jaden is?
Yeah, I think confidence and belief are a really big thing. Like, belief is probably even more powerful, to know that play can be happen. Sometimes just for a quarterback and receiver, like putting it in the right spot, like in a practice, although it's not at the game, but like saying, like, hey, man, I know this what we are capable of, and so I know what the possibilities can be. So not everybody gets that pass or that route, but for the ones that do, and like, hey, this can absolutely go my way, yeah, you do stand a little taller and a little stronger, knowing, like, when that play gets called, like, this is one of those moments that I got a real shot to go get it.
One more on McNichols. The fact that he's changed teams almost a dozen times, can you tell that experience of having to adjust, that he can adapt quickly?
Yeah, I think probably the word that comes to mind for me is resilience. And Jeremy, and he's a fantastic teammate, but because he's capable of whatever job he's thrown at you, I can do that. You can see now why a team would say, okay, he can add a little more. And sometimes you have to go through those hard ones, Nikki, to realize, man, I was this close, I was right there, and my next stop, I'm not going to miss it. And he has absolutely nailed, his ops here, and no surprise that, big block or a big block on some of the returns, we're led by him because he's just not going to miss those chances. You'll come back. We'll come back to you. We'll get you. All right, come on. All right, get yourself ready.
Are you guys doing anything differently to try to create more turnovers, or is it, hey, the
No.
process is good and
No,
they'll come?
you don't try to do anything different, but it does have to be like the way you practice, the way you live. So although we've seen him in practice, obviously we had chances for him in the game. We just haven't nailed him yet. So it's part of who we will be. We're just not there in terms of taking it away yet. But that does not mean you over-try or take a shot at the ball instead of tackling. Like, you have to do your job first. But when there's a 50-50 ball or you knock one out to scoop it, those are the big things. And the speed and the running. If you knock a fumble out, you don't know who's going to recover it. You don't know when it's going to happen. But if you run and you haul ass full speed, when it does come out, you'll be there. And most times when you're not running full speed is when it comes out. So you want to make sure I'm always digging for it. All right, now we're ready. Yes, come on, Ben. Bring it home.
Ben said it. It feels like he's been close. There's been some opportunities close. How have you seen his progression? And does it feel like he's close?
Yeah, I think you're on the right track. We felt that way too. And sometimes, like a play is called, okay, and then a different coverage or a different play that would happen. But he has really been putting in the work, and I've been pleased with what we've seen from him. All of us are kind of like, ready for that because we've all seen it. And so he is too. He's itching and he's really ready to perform for this weekend. So he's had a good week. And with Zach and John, sometimes those ops aren't, there as much as, you'd like, in Ben's instance. But when they're there, I certainly know he's ready to take advantage of it. All right, good comeback. All right, thank you guys. All right, see you at the game.